Alrighty, lads, we are back. This time with the latest, and I mean late, as in it has been so damn late for this DLC to drop. Like, what was taking their time, right? So, right off the bat, I'm a little upsetty because Chaos Dwarfs shouldn't have taken this long to make. Because the game's been out for nearly over a year, and there was like no DLCs for a long time. And the Chaos Dwarves were so easy to implement, yet finally we get it. So I'm actually excited because Chaos Dwarves is like the number one race that I was waiting for to play. I didn't care about ogres, I didn't care about chaos, I didn't care about Cathay. I really just cared about Chaos Dwarves. They're a really cool race. One of the interesting things about them is that, mind you, I haven't looked at their army, so I don't know if Total War has changed anything. But when it comes to the tabletop, Chaos Dwarves are able to cast magic. And that's huge. They have their own lore called Lore of Hashut. And Hashut's, later in Age of Sigmar, they say Hashut's actually Khorne. I don't buy that. I don't believe that, because Khorne doesn't like magic. And this is specifically fire magic. And their whole race is based on magic, which makes them so unique. They have access to something the dwarves no longer have. The dwarves used to have golems, giant stone golems that they imbued runes of power onto, and the golems were pretty much indestructible. The Chaos Dwarves are able to make golems today, but they are not quite the same. What they are doing is they're essentially binding demons into metal, not stone. This is metal. And the runes on there are actually trapping runes that trap the demon inside the metal. It's metal as metal can get. It is cool. So I'm kind of curious to see this. I haven't seen the trailer yet. I already bought the DLC though, because I saw it was on sale for Steam. So I was like, click, bought it, $22. It's gonna be good. Let's see it. All right.
Forsaken, abandoned to the dark.
Oh yeah.
No choice but to follow the flame.
Oh baby. Yep.
The fire to tear down.
Oh man.
Ways.
The orc slaves. Yeah.
Doubt
Oh shit.
and weakness.
I love it. They actually did put the goblins in there, the hobgoblins.
Nothing
Nice.
remains but power and ambition.
Oh, that's nice
Roaring
details.
fire will always demand more. More fuel.
Nice.
More sacrifice. The fiercest heat to forge the hardest steel.
That's a really nice detail they put in. I'm going to talk about it once this is over.
Rise
Oh man.
within the crucible.
Oh yeah. I still wish he had a mustache. His face looks weird without it. Ugh. Oh yeah.
To seize the world with this fire.
It's your
to
boy,
see it
the
burn
greatest priest and magic caster. Ooh, that's new. What's that? Ooh. Well, okay. Do we want to start off with what they did right, or do we want to start off with something that is really fresh in my mind because I just looked at it? But this. Yikes. Okay. Something that I like about this. Let's start with that. Let's start with that. I like that they put the runes on here, so it shows you that there's magic stuck in this thing. I do like that a lot. I love when there's like runes all throughout this, and some of the runes are glowing and some of the runes are kind of dimmed. I like that a lot. Something that I also like is all the smoke and steam coming out of it. Something I don't like is this lava body carcass inside. It's too bright. You know what I mean? Like when you usually think of chaos dwarves, you're thinking of the smoke that comes out of the furnace. And a lot of their monsters are supposed to be that way, where there is no internal insides. So it kind of looks like a mechanized skeleton. And that's really what they should have done here, was get rid of this lava thing, get rid of that, and just leave it empty. And you may think that looks weird if it's empty. That's the point. It's supposed to be billowing smoke and drenching blood out of its mouth at all times, because this is a bloodthirsty demon trapped in here, and it's working off of furnace and steam power. Like, these are really technological marvels. This lava thing, I don't know. It just looks kind of weird. To me, it looks like too bright. And usually when you think of chaos dwarves, you think of like trapped underground, where the smoke and the engines pounding like is dark in their dimensions. So that's something that I kind of don't like. Let's get to the beginning though. So she says something very, I don't know who the speaker is, but let's talk about this.
Forsaken, abandoned to the dark.
Yep.
What choice but to follow the flame?
So that right there is actually really good, because that gives you the entire origin story of how the Chaos Dwarves came to be, which is when Chaos flooded the lands. This is before humanity existed. This is just simply elves, dwarves, and lizardmen. Lizardmen own most of the world. All of a sudden, chaos, the chaotic gates break, and chaos floods the lands. The dwarves of Zar, the Darklands, they were trapped. They were cut off. They could not get help from anyone else. They were surrounded by demons. They were surrounded by all sorts of hazards. So they do what every dwarf does. They just locked up their hold. Here's the problem. They're so far up north and so close to the Chaos Waste that a lot of chaos energy seeped into their mountain. And in doing so, it more or less changed them. And while they were more or less dying from the chaos corruption, and they were also dying from all the mutations they were getting, their ancestor gods who they kept praying to, Valea, Grimnir, Grumni, anybody, help us. No one answered their prayers. Now, there was a creature in the shadows, in the billowing fires and smoke, who did come out to them, and that is Hashut. As it comes to be known, it's Khorne. But Hashut, I like to consider him his own deity. He is chaos, just he's his own deity. Like a minor deity, like maybe a demon of Khorne, but not Khorne himself. I don't like that. But Hashut encouraged the dwarves in their vengeance, their hatred. Like, look who's turned back on you. Your ancestors are supposed to watch over you at all times, and they turn their back on you. So, the Chaos Dwarves' whole culture is anti-dwarf. They keep on innovating, they keep on creating even more creations than the dwarves themselves. And the whole reason why is because they are inspired by hatred. They're like, you just designed the cannon? We designed a cannon that can shoot out 5 different mortars at the same time because we're better than you. That's right, ancestors. We didn't need you. We're better than you. And that's really the whole mindset behind the dwarves. It's really cool when you see the Chaos Dwarves, because anytime the regular dwarves invent something, they just take it as a challenge. Now, there is some uniqueness to them. The main thing is that there's less Chaos Dwarves in the world than regular dwarves, like by a huge margin. So the Chaos Dwarves' armies and their tactics have molded into a very different society indeed. It's hugely based on slavery, much like Dark Elves. The only difference is that they do not revel in the pain that their slaves are in. They instead rule over their slaves, viewing it with power and domination. That's all they're obsessed with, is dominating people. Showing everyone in the world that they don't need you. Showing everyone that they are better than you. So it's one of those things that I find very interesting. Dark Elves have slaves because they find it fun to torture you. Orcs may have slaves just because they're too lazy to do stuff, and they also like slapping someone around every now and then. But Chaos Dwarves have slaves to sacrifice you and to show you that they are better. That's the main thing. They want you to die knowing that they are superior to you. There's some interesting things we saw here. So one, there's a lot of siege equipment. Like, a lot. And there's also 3 legendary lords, which is unique. Usually DLCs we only get 2, but this one's got 3. Something I like too is this. The Kurgans. The closest thing we get to really like Mongolians, I guess, is the hobgoblins. So you may have noticed the hobgoblin is just about as big as a dwarf. And there's a reason for that too. Hobgoblins is a subspecies like snotlings or night goblins. And what hobgoblins are more known for is that they grew in a society where there was no orcs at all. And they grew in the steppes, very close to the Darklands. They relied a lot on riding wolves, and they developed so well without orcs that they actually became as big as orcs. The one thing that sets apart a hobgoblin from any other goblin, though, that you can easily detect is that a hobgoblin is much more sadistic. Like, much more sadistic. To put it as an example, when a goblin captures somebody, he's just going to put a chain around your neck and then just keep tugging on the chain. Keep moving, dumbass! But when a hobgoblin catches you, he's going to first break one of your limbs, even though you're not resisting. And then when it comes to giving you food and water, he's going to make you work for it because he finds it enjoyable when he sees you thrashing about. He may even just tie you to the back of his wolf and just run as fast as he can, dragging you along the back, just for the fun of it. Hobgoblins are very nasty individuals. Now, where the hobgoblins come in the Darkland society of the Chaos Dwarves is pretty weird. So they're kind of like a secondary citizen, as in they have rights and they do have residency, but they're not quite treated like citizens. It's a very weird situation, but it's a very understanding situation for both parties. So what happened is, when the Greenskins were being enslaved by the Chaos Dwarves invented the Black Orcs because they needed a stronger, more obedient orc who can dive down into the mines better than other orcs and be more obedient. What they got instead was a much stronger orc, a much smarter orc, but not one who's more obedient. Instead, they were more strict. They were more warriors at heart. More known as like Spartanish, where they always study the arts of warfare and constantly train, and they gear themselves up in the thickest of armor. It's really cool. Well, eventually these new orcs led a rebellion to leave the Chaos Dwarves' lands. And the Chaos Dwarves were not only losing the revolution, they were about to be wiped out because the Black Orcs were doing so good that they were deciding, you know what? Why are we leaving when we could just destroy them? So they were trying to destroy them. That's when the hobgoblins came in. You see, the hobgoblins, they don't like orcs because their society grew around without orcs. So now having bigger and stronger orcs in their lands is just a problem. So they made a deal with the Chaos Dwarves. They betrayed their own greenskins. And in doing so, many greenskins to this day are still trapped in the Darklands. And now it's become a racial thing where it's almost like the powers of Gork and Mork are so displeased with the hobgoblins that now they've made it a genetic thing where genetically any orc and goblin born hate hobgoblins right off the bat. So, having nowhere else to turn to and just saving another species' ass, the hobgoblins are made like secondary citizens. The Chaos Dwarves don't respect them in the same way, but they tolerate them. They say, we will actually design you quarters for you to live in. You just got to keep bringing us slaves, keep patrolling our territories, and more or less supplementing our forces. And it works. It works. It's beautiful. Something I'm kind of curious about, though, is... So, hobgoblins are much like, basically, orcs. So in that sense, I wonder if in the game they're going to be cannon fodder or expendable. They shouldn't be. But it would be interesting to see if that is the case. Now, this is something I like. So this is a detail. So you may look at this and go, wow, see, this is what I'm talking about. They got this right. They got it so right. Look at all the smoke. Look at all the fire. You even got the mouth of his chute there. That's really cool. But the big thing with Chaos Dwarfs is the smoke, the smog. That's why when we look at the demon that's imbued inside this great beast, I don't like it. Because this needs to be just smoke. No fiery insides, just smoke. But back to this is a good detail they put. This right here. This is such a good detail. You may be wondering, what about this Freezer 700 did you like so much? Well, I don't know if you notice it, but I notice it right off the bat. You remember when I talked about how Chaos Dwarves are less in number than regular dwarves? Look at this. There's very few of them working the foundries. And look at this picture right here. They have more weapons and more wagons, steam tanks, than they do people to operate this. This is a good detail. This shows you Chaos Dwarf society. You're constantly working the smith. You're constantly making things, blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they have to resort to machines to do their work for them because they don't have enough people. And then when they do design these weapons, they don't have anyone to really man the weapons. They only have like one guy to steer the machine into their inventory, but they don't have like a guy for every single tank. I love that. That little detail there is so good. Man. Because you have to remember that any sort of population you have, there's going to be a spectrum. And dwarves are no exception, especially Chaos Dwarves. You're going to have some people who are really good engineers. You're going to have some people who are just really dumb, but you can use them as warriors. This is where we're seeing this. You have a lot of guards standing around, like 1 or 2 guards in the factory, but then you only have like 2 or 3 of them who are actually engineers and actually know how to use the machines. So you got to think about that. It's like, man, we got more warriors than we do engineers. Like the warriors are just standing around. They got nothing to do. They don't understand the machinery. They don't have the magical capabilities to create some of these machineries. But the engineers, there's only a few of them, and they're constantly busy. They're constantly making, constantly. They don't have time to sit around like these warriors do. And it kind of catches us to the next part. This is another legendary lord. But this right here is really interesting. So we have him more or less sacrificing and then imbuing his own weapon with the magical powers of probably souls, to be honest, like a lot of souls. That's what Chaos Dwarves tend to do. I love the helmets, by the way, on how they're like blazoned helmets. I love that. But that's a big thing that you're going to see a lot in the Chaos Dwarves. So don't be surprised when the game comes out and they have a slave mechanic, and the slave mechanic increases their weapons and their armor. That is 100% lore accurate. They always do that in Chaos Dwarves, is that they do not have runes. Not the same runes that dwarves have. Dwarves are different. Dwarves trap magic into an object, and they give it a purpose. Chaos Dwarves are magic. So what they do is instead, they bind souls into their weapons. And that's how they do it. That's how they channel magic in there. Something that's important to note is that Chaos Dwarves are not resistant to magic because they're able to cast magic. But on the flip side, they actually have thicker armor due to their industry. They have better weapons due to their magic, because magic's much easier to do than runes. Runes is much harder. So again, I love this. I love this a lot. Here we have our... Ooh, I forgot the term for it. Ooh boy, that's going to be a problem. But here we have our Chaos Dwarves cavalry unit. This is more than normal than this. This is like very naked. I don't like this one. But this one over here is more what we're talking about. So in Hashut's, mutations come because they're in the Chaos Lands. So Chaos Dwarves who are born have tusk, Some of them have bone protrusions out of their head and out of their body. That's fine. But if you're born with half your body being a bull, I'm talking like a bull, like a male cow, that's half your body right there. It's like a centaur, but better. This is considered like the highest blessing of Hashut. So these individuals who are half Chaos Dwarf and half bull, they're usually very well revered, and they're usually assigned for duties like guarding temples because they're considered blessed by a Hashut. And it's very interesting because they're a weird mix. They're kind of like a melee cavalry, but they're also like a shock cavalry at the same time. They're a very strong unit, of course. Again, I don't like how naked this one is. Usually they're heavily outfitted like this. After all, you don't want to just send these guys to their death. And judging by how they're scattered, I'm assuming this is going to be more like a hero unit instead of a actual unit. But I prefer them as like a army, like platoon, instead of their individual heroes, which is probably what this will be, is like an individual hero. But damn, do I love that. This guy, you may be wondering what's up with the mechanical legs. For those of you who don't know anything about the Chaos Dwarves, but it's quite simple. When you're a mage, you're born magically inclined in the Chaos Dwarf lands. The more and more you cast magic, the more and more you cast runes, your body will start turning into stone. And it starts from your feet and it works its way up. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. You're going to automatically be one of the priests of the Chaos Dwarf Society. But what's interesting and what's so unique about this is that in order to progress and raise your ranks, you have to kind of prove your magical power. The problem is every time you prove your magical power, you're slowly killing yourself. And this is not even considering like when you're in a fight with somebody. If you're in a fight with somebody, you're going to have to be really good with your arms and hands, your mind, everything. If you're going to be using magic in combat, you're going to kill yourself a lot faster than your opponent when it comes to the dwarves. Every other species that has magic, they don't have this issue. There's actually, in the War of Vengeance novel, if you guys read it, it's a good novel to read. But there is a rune lord who is trying his hardest to cast a rune and trying to figure out how to make golems. But the magic is so powerful, it turns him to stone. This is similar to what we're seeing here with the Chaos Dwarves. They're trying so hard to cast the winds of magic, trying so hard to capture it and to channel it through their body like a normal mage would, that it's actually turning their body to stone with every cast. It is very dangerous, to say the least. So this guy has basically replaced his body with mechanical parts. I assume that would make him really bad at combat, but in the tabletop, it's different. Tabletop is always different than the video games. But in the video games, I'm assuming he's probably going to be really bad at combat. But tabletop, he was alright. He was pretty decent. Where's the army thing? Because I did know I saw something. Where is it? That's not it. There it is. Boom, got it. Okay. They're going to be flying like these manticore type creatures, but they're also going to be able to cast magic. Again, dwarf army versus chaos dwarf army, chaos dwarfs usually win. And the reason why is because of this. Look at how much they have at their disposal. The main reason why chaos dwarves usually lose is because their heroes are not quite up to snuff compared to regular dwarves. And this is pretty insane though. Like, their armies tend to be more expensive than dwarves. So for once, dwarves outnumber an enemy, which would be the Chaos Dwarves. But the Chaos Dwarves make up for it with all this crazy artillery, all these crazy guns. And then this, they have flying units that they can ride and then cast magic on. Do they show it? No, they don't. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I thought we were gonna see like a fireball fly out of him or something. But I could rewatch this because like there's something else here. Yeah, you have a line of greenskins that are completely naked. These are not savage orcs. These are probably just regular orcs or regular goblins, maybe? I'm not sure. It's hard to see from that distance, but this is definitely what you would see with a Chaos Dwarf army. Huge line of just expendable slaves. And then you got all this in the back. All these crazy contraptions, all these crazy guns, soul-bound mortars flying at people's opponent, like bases and stuff. It is just awesome. As I said, though, I just don't like this. This is weird. Like, we could probably look up some Chaos Dwarf army. Let's see where we got. So yeah, see, we got some more greenskin stuff. But damn, I was kind of hoping they had a picture. You never usually want to rely on Wikipedia for stuff, but when it comes to looking up things like this, it's very easy. Very, very easy. Bull Centaurs, that's what their names were. I always forgot that. Because I knew it wasn't like Centaur, it was something else. It was like Bull, yeah. Now, where's that damn thing that I was looking for? It's a machine. Is this it? The Kada? Yeah. There it is, yeah. This is what I'm assuming this is supposed to be. My only issue is, again, look at the difference. This is like shrouded in smoke and it's oozing out lava. This is not doing that. It's not even close. So let's see. We got some more Kadas. Then we got this. This looks badass. I'm surprised we didn't see this in the trailer, because this is like a main one. But I guess it's too demony. But we got like a few arts here. There's those things. I guess those are called Kada destroyers? No, they're not. There's no way. Are they just called Kada? I think they're called just Kada. Yeah, Fireborn. That's what they're supposed to be, is Fireborn, not... I was going to say, I swear to God, they were not called Kada destroyers. Yeah, this is why you never listen to the internet, guys. But yeah, you have things like this, and it's going to be really interesting. My phone was just bursting. So yeah, there's going to be a lot to look into with the Chaos Dwarves. As I said, I'm nitpicking. I'm always a nitpicker, and that's why people don't like my reactions. But we're going to have like a lot of these. We're going to have a lot of interesting things to work with. But I don't know. I'm more interested in seeing the art done a little bit better. Like, I want to see stuff like this where you can see fire, but you can't really see a body. There's no, like, discernible body. It's just fire and smoke. Oozing lava, that is it. You don't actually see a body. Because seeing a body, I don't know, it just looks weird to me. Like, it literally looks like a burning turd stuck inside this badass piece of armor. I don't know what else to say. It literally looks like that. Like if you picked up a piece of charcoal, and you lit it on fire and just stuck it in there, that's what this looks like. And I understand it's industrial. It's supposed to look that way. But most of the artwork in a lot of the books that I've read and that I've seen, these were usually described as machines billowing smoke. Machines where you could see their flaming eyes. And you would see like either lava or blood dripping down their mouths. Like these were machines that were almost skeletal, where they look like they belong inside of a demon's body. Like that's what they look like. They're supposed to be badass. And here we have this. It's kind of like the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. Let's look up a photo of that real quick. So here, yeah. They're supposed to kind of look like this exactly. It's just a lot of smoke, and you can't even see its body that well. And then if it gets close to you, you can make out some things, but you couldn't quite identify it. Like, this is what I wanted from the Chaos Dwarves. So you apply that smoke effect to this, and it would be much more interesting. Like the runes can be seen very visibly from the smoke and the drenching gaping mouth, but you couldn't see much else of like the rest of the body because it's just smoke. Like I would love that. That would be badass. God, because that's supposed to be the Chaos Dwarves, but I get it, like video game graphic constraints. But damn, that would be sick as fuck. Something you may have noticed too in the Chaos Dwarf army, I haven't really said it, but something too you may have noticed is that every single Chaos Dwarf is decked head to toe in heavy armor. There is not like a minor unit, like the dwarf miners who wear very little armor, or the dwarf thanes where their elbows are exposed. No, there's no gaps in their armor. God damn, they're badass as fuck. Like, see, like, there is not a patch of skin that is exposed in these dwarves. This guy's not wearing a helmet, but that's different. Like, Chaos Dwarves do not let anything show. They are decked in armor. Now, on the flip side, as I said, they are not magic resistant. So that's one of the downsides. But because they're not magic resistant, you could probably heal them better, and you could probably do like a bunch of crazy magic augmentation to them. But damn, I'm excited for this. Like, look how big this guy's blade is. Jesus Christ, it's like half his fucking height. It's so ridiculous. Alright, so that's been my thoughts. I don't know what you guys think. Comment down below what you guys think. You guys are probably going to comment down below. How can you not be excited for this? Like, what is there not to be excited about? Oh, I'm excited. I am very excited. What I hope that they do for Chaos Dwarves is I hope that they make it where they can only take over a few settlements at any given time. Much like the Wood Elves, where you only own one solitary mountain. And then all the other places around you are automatically converted to villages that are like slave camps. And that's pretty much all you do, is you just conquer a shit ton of slave camps that reek in the dough, that reek in constant slaves for you. And then you have a bunch of buildings at those like 1 to 8 settlements that you have. And you just churn out money, churn out magic, churn out all sorts of crap. Like you could have it where the amount of slaves that you have governs how much armor and how much melee defense, how much melee attack your army has, because you're augmenting it with the slaves that you're killing. And then you can enact certain rituals, so the next 10 turns or whatever, you are killing like 140 slaves a turn, but you're raising their stats so damn high. I really hope that that's the case. Because mind you, Chaos Dwarves, they're not like Dark Elves. They're not killing their slaves for fun. They're killing their slaves because of industry. They're killing their slaves to imbue their weapons with awesome power. And that's what I would love to see. Really, what I would really want to see is the Iron Kraken. The Iron Kraken was such a fucking badass. Y'all don't know it, but Iron Kraken was a badass. I don't care about Hairbrush Studio. They can go. The Iron Kraken was a Warhammer thing. There it is. A Chaos Dwarf made this because he was jealous of ironclads, and he's like, I can build something fit for the sea and better than an ironclad. So he made the Iron Kraken. And the Iron Kraken is as it sounds. It looks like a kraken, but it's actually just a mechanical marvel. Again, Chaos Dwarf invention, baby. God, do I love it. Alright, so that is it for me. See you guys next time.